Hi y'all, Eli with Off-Road Endeavor. Today is August 1st and we're going to go and talk about the design process with cold form steel buildings and preparing for an estimate with these companies. Many of these companies have an online design builder on their website, which gives you an ability to kind of visually see what you want and lay out things and then submit it for an estimate. I certainly recommend still contacting them by phone and talking with them and or doing an email with some of your specific building specifications. But at least it's a great way to get started and get an overall picture of what your building is going to look like. So let me take you now to one of the website builders, and we're just going to go through the process and design what I've ended up with for my building. Let's follow along. When you work on these online building designers, you're going to start with what style of building you want. We're going to look for the Gamble style, and that'll bring us up to just a basic shape. Over here on the left bar, you're going to have your editing options. So over here, all the way on the side, you've got some different factors to edit and dimensions to put in. So first, we're going to look at our building width. We're going to have a 30 width, and we're going to have a length of 50 feet. So that's already going to change the dimensions to show what we're looking at. And this is just using the mouse to draw different angles and looks. So just clicking on your mouse, dragging it around, you can change the viewpoint. So I've determined that I need a 13-foot 6-inch building. So we're going to put 13.6. Now it's going to raise those walls. My roof pitch, I need to do a 112 because of my max peak height of 15. So that's already now changed the look of the building. We're going to next go to our edit function. We can pick here our wall color. We're going to go with the blue. So let's see, it's a little dark. Look at the Hawaii blue, a little lighter. Roof color. Functionally, I'm going to do some type of a brown to match the house color, but we'll figure out final paint chips later on. We're going to do some type of gray for the trim. Overhang. This is going to show an overhang for the whole building. I don't want an overhang for the whole building, so I had to use my designer when I was talking to him on the phone to get that. But you can see that we've now added a 16-inch overhang all the way around. Eventually, we're going to do just an overhang on this wall A. So we'll go ahead and reduce that. You can change your panel sizing here, or your panel type. This is a 24 gauge and this is a 26 gauge. So make sure you select which one you want. 26 is going to be a little bit thinner. We do want to add a wainscoting. This is a wainscoting section. Wainscoting is just that lower panel of a different color at the bottom. And what we want to do is change that to, oops, sorry, not the same as the wall. That wouldn't make any sense. To a gray. Wainscoting height, we'll just do 3 feet. And then roof bays. So roof bay, or a bay with a roof only. So if you want to do just an open, you can select to change that. So depending upon if you want to effectively make like an internal lean-to carport, you can have that. You can also add a lean-to on the outside. So there it is. And then the next, we can either click over here on the side or go down to the next button. We'll click next, and then if we want to design with individual bays having lean-tos, we can do that. So as you can see, you can just select individual bays, and if you wanted to turn those into an open bay, you could. We're not going to be adding any of those, so we'll just leave that alone. So next we're going to go to our openings. We can select here what type of opening we want. We want a personnel door, 3 foot wide, 7 foot. We'll click add, and then as we come over here on the building, you can see that it gives us a place to put it. Now once we've placed it on the building, we can come over here how high off the slab, how close to any bay edge, and then if we're going to align it. So you can see we're aligning it towards the B side, or we're aligning it towards the A side, or we're centering it in that opening. So remember this bay right here, when we looked on the other page, it had it split into two bays. So what we want to do is do an alignment. From the bay edge, I was actually going to do a 4 foot. So we'll put that in there, enter, and that places us 4 feet from the edge. Well, let's say I want to make it 4 feet from the other side. So that's where it goes. And that's where I'm going to put it, 4 feet closer to this side. Plus, let's say the thickness of the column, so we'll add another 8 inches for that, and it moves us that way. So we've got a door opening there. We want to add another door over here on the front side in bay number 2. So again, personnel door, 3 foot, 7, add, come over here. And as you can see, when you hit the purlins, the columns, now we're in bay 2. And then we hit another one, we're in bay 3. We hit another one, we're in bay 4. So I want mine in bay 2. So in this area, placed it, and then I want it closer to side A, and I only want this one. We'll see as close as we can get it. We'll start with 6 inches. Other side. It says invalid, so you see an error down here. So we'll undo that because that means it was too close. So we'll click back here on the edit function, and then we'll say 8 inches. There we go. We went on the B side. So this is end A, end B, so it's going in this direction. And that's as close as we can get it to that next column. So we want to add now roll-up doors. So we want to do a roll-up door. Let's change the color. We don't get the same gray option, so we'll try this one and see. Add, and then we put our roll-up door. We want it centered. So we'll come down here to these options. First we're going to make it a 12-foot high door. And then it's already set as centered, so we'll leave that. The gray, that's a little bit dark, so let's try like an ash gray. The doors, if we want to look at those, we can click that edit button again. And see, it doesn't give us an option for color, so that's just whatever color they come with. But we want to add another one of these doors. So come back up here. We're still on roll-up door. We can change the height in here before we even start. And we can change the color before we start. Add, and then come over here and put the door in that bay. We want to check to make sure that we're centered, and right now we're not. So if you look at edit roll-up door, and then down here, let's move it to the center. It centered that door, and we're done with that. So open bays, we'll go there. Again, you can have an open bay. We don't want that. Mezzanines. Do you want a mezzanine? So initially my design was to have mezzanine. If you're going to do a mezzanine, my recommendation is to design that first before you do up any of your doors. This is why I'm going to show you the errors that come up. So we're going to click yes, we want a mezzanine. It's going to automatically put a mezzanine across the entire building. You'll see down here that it says 2 invalid openings were removed. Now I'm not going to undo them because I'm going to show you what happens. Those openings are those roll-up doors. You can see the framing now here doesn't have any roll-up door in it. It still has the pass-through personal doors right here, but those 2 roll-up doors are gone. So if I was going to do just a mezzanine on that first bay, I'd have to delete these other 3 mezzanines. But when we say that that's okay, well, this is 10 foot, a little bit too high. We were going to do a 9-foot mezzanine. So drop it down a little bit. Now you see it took off the top of the header of that door. So we might have to do a little bit more to get that back. Again, this is just a visual calculator. The engineers are going to really figure out, they're going to have a more powerful program to decide how low that can go, where the interferences are. But what this means is our roll-up doors are gone, so we have to go back over here to openings, and we need to add in our roll-up doors again because they were deleted when we added that mezzanine. It's already centered, so we'll add another one. And again, if I wanted to, I could rotate this building and roll the scroll on the mouse. I can move that down and around, make it easier to look at. So there we are. We've got our 2 pass-through doors. We've got our 2 roll-up doors. We were at bays. We did mezzanine. Initially, that's the design we're going to do. We're going to add that mezzanine in later after the build. Part of that is because of the square footage, that the county's going to count that against me, even though it's within the same building. And so right now, the maximum footprint I can have is 1,600 square feet, and I'm at 1,500 square feet with just the floor. So if I add this, I would be way over the allowable square footage for the county. So we'll add that in later so they don't know about it. So next, props. It tells you can add these different things. And so if you want to add a helicopter into your building, you could add, well, I'm not going to have enough room to put a helicopter. But it says so you can put props in there, and I don't want that in there, so we're going to delete that. I got to remember how to delete that. Let's see if it's just the backspace. No. Oh, there it is. Remove prop. So over here, remove the prop. But if you wanted to, you could add in some of these props. If you want to put in a motorcycle or car or tractor or whatever, you can set it in there to visually get an idea of what it looks like. If we hide this right here, then we just got a full view of the building. We can manipulate our viewpoint by just taking the mouse, clicking, dragging around, and looking at what our building design is. Right now you're seeing just the framing. Go back to view, sorry, up here, viewpoint. So these are all the editors over here on the side. And then once you want to just view it, you click the view button up here and it takes away and gives you the options. So there we go. We don't want props, we don't want dimensions, but we do want the sheeting. So now we can look at that. Using our scroll mouse, we can come in here and go into the building and look around. So eventually this is what this shop is going to look like when I'm all done. So it shows you your columns, it shows you your doors, it shows you your rafters, all your sheeting, and the mezzanine that we're going to put in. But again, I'm going to build the mezzanine afterwards. So that is a way that you can kind of get an idea of what your building is going to look like using the online calculators. Over here you get a quote, and this is where you can select dimensions or sheeting. But get a quote and that'll send an email to them with this specific design, all the dimensions that you put together and came up with when you built it, and then they can work a quote from there. I had to call them because we added an overhang just on this side. I've got some setback issues with the county, which requires me to have no eaves on the other, and then just matching the house with no eaves on the gable end. But I hope you are able to understand kind of how this works and designing your own building. And this right here is the design that my building is going to take shape after. So that's how you use the online 3D design builder. And we went through and designed my building. There's just going to be a little bit of tweaks with it in the end, but that's the overall look and feel of what my building is going to be. If you have any recommendations on my process going through it, tips and tricks to help me out as I go through as owner builder, or if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below and we'll answer them, because if you're having questions, somebody else does too. And as I'm going through this process, hey, it's a great time for me to learn more about it myself and to teach others. So hope you have a great day. Hope you keep doing and endeavor to make and meet your goals. Have a great day.